We're currently in the museum's storage area. This is where we keep our study collection, materials that we might use for research purposes, loaning out to other museums, temporary exhibitions, and so on. As you can see, the area is kept secured. These materials aren't really normally accessible to the general public. We have mostly European armor from the late Middle Ages going into the Renaissance. But that's not the limit of the collections. We also have works of art that have representations of armor in them. We have a significant collection of edged weapons, staff weapons as well. Islamic pieces from the period of the Crusades are actually extremely rare, and the ones that survive are mostly in excavated condition. However, we do have some nice later pieces that are actually quite relevant to the Crusades. For example, this beautiful Persian sword from the 1700s. It's noteworthy from the point of view of the Crusades for a couple of reasons. The first is the forked tip of the blade. This is an allusion to a double-bladed sword that was actually captured by Muhammad at the Battle of Badr. The second noteworthy feature of this blade is that nice curved edge that it's got to it. It's a design that makes this sword extremely effective for a cavalryman who wants to rely on speed. It's a slashing weapon, really good for hit-and-run kinds of tactics. This bow is typical of the construction of the kinds of bows that were used by the Saracen side at the time of the Crusades. It is constructed in layers. The inside of the sea is made of wood, but the outside is made of horn. And that's all glued together to make an extremely powerful bow for its size. That's very handy for the Saracens who are actually using archery on horseback. Down here we have a selection of weapons that represent more of the European tradition. And the one I want to show you particularly is this spearhead. It's characteristic of the kinds that were being carried by European warriors at the time of the Crusades. And you can see it's extremely robust, very heavy kind of piece, very strong. It might have been carried by an ordinary foot soldier for a foot soldier style of spear, perhaps a little bit taller than I am, or it might actually have been the spear point of a lance carried by a knight. And that was going to be the most powerful weapon on the battlefield. We're talking perhaps something like 1.5 tons, cantering forward at maybe 20 miles per hour. That's a tremendous amount of power being delivered right here at the tip of this weapon. You really don't want to be on the receiving end of this. But after that initial moment of impact, a 12-foot lance is really a little bit too big a weapon to use for close combat. So that's the point at which the knight draws his sword. This is a really beautiful piece from about the time of the First to the Third Crusade. And in its day, it was really somebody's pride and joy. If you look closely, you can see on both sides we have 3 marks. Cross, 3 hatch marks, another cross, and then the reverse on this side. 3 hatch marks, a cross, and another 3 hatch marks. This is partly magic. The 3 hatch marks refers to the lucky number 3. There's certainly a kind of magic component there. But you could also think about the Christian Trinity in that context, and that Christian component is certainly evoked by the cross. This is a weapon that has a deep religious significance for the person who carries it. And that's perhaps one of the reasons why the Europeans, pretty uniquely in the world, went for this cross-hilted style of sword.